Hello ladies and gents, I covered this a couple days back. This is The Woman King. Now in that video there were a few assumptions being made about whether it depicted them as slavers or not, the Dahomey, real life actual place. Turns out the assumption was slightly incorrect. It does actually show them as being slavers, but it's still painting them in a positive light. And they're fighting to protect their way of life. And still, white man is bad in this movie. And then I also came on to Midnight's Edge's 300 stream yesterday and discussed this as well. And I guess the best example that we can use for modern times would be this movie is essentially the equivalent of making a film about Hitler's right-hand man. Just, going about his business. Yeah, sure, they're, committing atrocities in the Holocaust. But they're, just fighting off neighbouring, countries because they want to protect their way of life. It's the same thing. I mean, it's not the same, but it's the same. Same. It's the equivalent because these individuals, the Dahomey, committed genocides. The character that Gezo... that John Boyega plays, King Gezo, was known as the Slave King. When he died, over 800 slaves were sacrificed in his name. The Agoji, which is what this film is centred on, the all-female regiment, were the ones that perpetrated all of this. This is being sold to people as based on true events. In the loosest possible terms, it's based on true events. Now, this film might be good. Chris Gore came on Midnight's Edge and said it's a good action film. Sure, I'm not judging the film based on that. I'm judging it on its moral and ethical basis. I don't think the same would be said, ladies and gents, if we were making a film, again, about Nazis and we were depicting them as being positive. It's incredibly unlikely that that would even get funding. This film floated around, after being written in 2017, floated around for 3 years until it got greenlit in 2020. Oh, peak BLM. So I wonder why it got greenlit. So there is a sadistic nature to this film, and anyone trying to shut down this side of the conversation to do with this film, you are exposing yourself. All of this stuff is valid that's being said here. And Viola Davis has some interesting comments to be had. Viola Davis says that audiences who don't see The Woman King are supporting the narrative that black women cannot lead the box office globally. This ain't it, Chief. This really ain't. That's the hill you want to die on. Goodness me. Do some research. Also, side note, these outfits that they were wearing wasn't what they used to wear. They used to actually have like pretty normal clothing. I mean, obviously normal, but it was much more modern than that. Less tribalistic looking anyway, that's for sure. According to star Viola Davis, any audience member who declines to financially support The Woman King, literally a film glorifying slavers, but, we'll just overlook that, I guess, and see the film in theatres, is supporting the narrative that black women cannot lead the box office globally. You can, right? Because a lot of people want to see this because of you, Viola. Do you know that? We had Latino Slant on Midnight's Edge. He said he's going to go watch it because his wife wants to watch it. Because of Viola Davis. So you can lead the box office. But when people learn the historical truth about this, people tend to get a bit tuned out. Because they're like, ooh, don't really want to touch that with a bit of a barge pole. That's a bit, yeah, it's kind of tainted with the truth that you're sort of, uncomfortably navigating around. So no, set in the historical African kingdom of Dahomey, which is now modern-day Benin. During the opening years of the 1820s, The Woman King tells a fictionalized version of the 1823 Dahomey Revolt, focusing on General Naniska, a completely make-believe, and her all-female Agoji warriors as they fight to liberate their state from subordination under the rival Oyo Empire. Despite the real-world Dahomey Kingdom having heavily participated in the era's Atlantic slave trade, so much so, ladies and gents, that King Gezo wrote to the monarch of Britain at the time, begging to continue it. Begging like a bitch to continue the slave trade. And we were like, no, of course not. Also, the Ogoji got decimated by the French, of all people. It's a joke, it's a meme. When they tried to ransack a neighbouring territory for slaves. The French were like, no, mate. Franco-Dahoman War, anyone? Look it up. Anyway, slavers would regularly take humans from neighbouring tribes by war or specifically targeted restocking raids and either selling them off to the Europeans or keeping them as personal property, which is the Dahomey did both of those things. With the practice only coming to an end thanks to intervention from the British Navy. Yep, we abolished it. Reviews of the soon-to-be-released film indicates that the Woman King will handle the subject by depicting its protagonist, General Niska, as a leading voice in the opposition of the practice. It's simply not true. There's nothing ever like this. Ever. However, regardless of this particular stain on the kingdom's history, many reviewers have taken to lauding the film as a highlight of black excellence, with comparison to Marvel's Black Panther regularly being tossed around in general conversations. Again, remember, ladies and gents, a good comparison to this would be like having one of Hitler's generals being, no, we really just don't want to do it. We're not going to do it anymore. And then selling it to the Jews as a fact. People will be like, what? No. Obviously, this is nonsense. So one such media personality was Tyrone Edwards, current host of the Canadian entertainment talk show E-Talk, who not only praised the film directly to Davis during its September 12th premiere at the TIFF, but also inquired as to her thoughts on how audiences can help prevent the hype surrounding The Woman King and other black-led movies from being just a moment. I'm not going to play it, we'll just transcript. I was talking to your co-star Lashana Lynch, and she said, I'm tired of these black movies just being a moment, and for some reason, she felt like this isn't just a moment. This can be the new normal going forward. Poor choice. There's so much better things you could have done. You didn't have to make a film about a slave nation. That wasn't what I planned to ask you today, but that just really resonated with me. What do you think about that in terms of moving forward and making this normal? Because this carpet feels different to me, and I've been doing this for a while. That says a lot about you. Absolutely, I completely 100% agree. But there's the thing I'm going to add to that, and it will just be a moment if people don't come and see the movie. People probably don't. What? Okay, she continued, because you're sending a very clear message to a machine called Hollywood. Hollywood is interested in green. It just is. It is what I do, so if you don't come see it, then you're sending a message that black women cannot lead the box office globally. You're supporting the narrative, and if you want to normalise it, come see the same way you would Black Panther, Iron Man, Spider-Man, any other movie that doesn't have any of us in it, or one or two of us in it. Again, you're trying to sell this as a superhero movie. These people beheaded slaves. The Ogoji directly beheaded slaves. You would not hear this about, again, literally, let's just cross it over to an even more direct comparison, right? You wouldn't be seeing a film based around the Atlantic slave trade and, in the very heat of it, and depicting individuals, that were well known for buying and selling slaves as being against it. You just wouldn't. It wouldn't fly, and you wouldn't get people going, well, if you're not going to see this movie, then you're just, racist or something like that. It's just total nonsense. Absolute madness. This film, on a moral and ethical basis, because people, bearing in mind, ladies and gents, and this is something you really do have to highlight, people are fucking stupid nowadays. They will see this thinking this is true. They will see this thinking that. It's all over Twitter. People are idiots. Right? You ask you show them a watch, and you ask half of, young people nowadays, what's the time? They won't know how to tell it. That's how stupid these people are. So they will see this film. They will think it's true. They won't do any basic research on it because it is being sold as based on true events, or based on true events. It's got 100% fresh written on Rotten Tomatoes. Political bias? Much? agenda-driven message bias much? There are so many. The Terminal List got slated as a right-wing revenge fantasy. This is a left-wing historical rewrite fantasy. But it obviously toes the party line. Disgraceful. You should honestly, people should know much, much, much more about their history. I'd love to see a movie on the Barbary slave trade. That'd be fascinating. You know why it'd be fascinating? Because if it's true, it'd be stuff that we just don't get told about, don't learn about. This could have been an opportunity to educate people on something. The only heroes of this event were the French, were the British, and the individuals that blockaded, at great expense to themselves, at great strife to themselves, and put an end to it. That's what you could have told. But no, of course, white man bad.